Yep. Welcome back to the Bees Like That podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris. What are we going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about that will be ghost viewed and that's going to ruin somebody's day? We're going to talk about power. We're going to talk about narratives and labels. We're going to talk about some black shit. Talk about some white shit. We're going to talk about some humanity shit. So y'all ready? Here you go. The other day I was in a conversation and this happens to me. So while I'm saying something, what I was saying, I'll start there. So what I was saying is I was defining what I'm not and what I've never been. And at the same time in my mind, when I say things like that, this happens to me all the time. A question will pop up in my mind while I'm speaking. So the question that popped up in my mind was counter to what I said I wasn't. The question was literally, well, what am I? What have I ever been? What am I trying to be? Etc. So what am I? Well, in simplest terms, and in no specific order, and this is not an exhaustive list, but here are some of the things that I think are most important that shape my daily reality. So I'm educated, self-aware, confident, spiritually and intellectually powerful, and I'm a black dude. So in dominant culture, the loose translation is aggressive, adversarial, impulsive, or at the very least, all of the above, but placed under the cover of passionate, right? This is a gentler way and a more palatable way, and it's kind of a disguise, right? It's kind of a cover in a way to insult people by saying that they're aggressive or they're hyper or high energy or intense. They say they're passionate, right? Because that's kind of poetic and noble. It makes people feel good, and actually have to think about things for a second instead of just saying, damn, yo, you're too much. You're intense. I can't handle the energy. But as I say, the latter being the translation from dominant culture. When I mean dominant culture, I mean white culture. This is the loose translation of all the things I listed about myself. You know what's funny about that, though? About the passionate thing or the intense thing is I rarely display passion, as it were, and am intentionally level, centered, and low-spoken. I out of the gate, I set myself in a foundation of all of these things simply because I know at some point I'll have to reference back to my presentation, to my energy, to my proxemics, my body language, my tone of voice, everything, and objectively ask the questions. And I have to do this so much more than I think other people do, but I have to do it pretty regularly. But I'll go and say, was I really though? Was I really that high energy? Was I really that intense? Was I really passionate, as it were? Or was I just saying challenging and difficult things? Things that make you uncomfortable? Because that's what more often than not I'm most certainly doing. Over being animated and loud and raising my voice and clapping my hands and doing all the things that I associate with a more accurate definition of a passionate or impassioned speech or presentation. I don't do any of those things. I don't. For a reason. And I just told you. Because of well, let me just continue. So I'm low-spoken and all the other things for a reason, right? Like I say, yet still the narrative about our general disposition and overall utility persists, even in the presence of all of the evidence to the contrary. When I say our, I mean black men. no matter what. Even when I reference back, like, hey, was I actually really raising my voice? Was I actually abnormally animated? Did I get in people's faces? Did I malign people? Did I insult them? Did I call names? Did I swear? Right? Did I do any of these things? Did I lose my cool? No, 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 no. So where in any of that does the passion lie that you're talking about? Which again, I want to redirect you. That passion, not all the time, because I think some people just say that and they don't understand that in different contexts, the harm that it carries or could potentially carry. I don't blame anyone for that. In that circumstance, I do think it's overutilized, and I think that with the amount of scrutiny that I'm under for my language and the things that I say, it would just be nice if people were more mindful about the language they use. But hey, listen, it is what it is, man. So despite all of the evidence to the contrary, so no matter what I do, this is the default. And there's a few reasons for that, especially in circles where people may know my history, right? So I have to say this part. Before, like, the compulsion of active addiction really took hold in my life, there was a space in time where I was hyper aggressive, right? Because as a kid, I was generally really quiet and wanted to be as small as possible. I didn't want anyone to perceive me because I was poor and I was smelly and I was skinny and my hair was messed up and, you know, people made fun of me, and none of those things feel particularly good to anyone. So I did my best to stay out of the limelight. Then came a time where the realization hit me after getting into my first fight that, hey, this works. You know what I'm saying? Like, that person has not bothered me again. Like, on it, they actually are cool to me now, right? So, just to confirm the results, we're going to smack a few more people and see what, you know what I'm saying? See if this checks out. There was a time. And admittedly, after the compulsion for active addiction took hold and was like firmly rooted in my spirit and psychology and daily life, this version of me expanded, and I hurt more than a fair share of people, my fair share of people. And I've paid the prices for those actions. You know, they've gotten me lengthy sentences, some pretty remarkable places, I'll say that. But knowing that about me, even hearing like whispers or tales about that version of me who was very angry and impulsive and physical, people have an idea that they will try to leverage that and try to pull some of that out of me. It happens all the time. All the time. And it used to work. It used to work. Like, it used to make me really discouraged because I would, you know, it's like you feel like somebody's coming for you. You want to give it back. But I am proud to say that today, no matter how frustrated or angry I get, not to say that every time I got frustrated or angry I would want to hit another person. That's certainly not true. Or I didn't. Now that I'm able to discern in real time plans of action, and if I need to just like not participate because you ain't got to go to every party you're invited to, right? So if I just need to not participate, I'm well within my rights and function and ability to just bounce. I don't even have to be here. Fuck you. I'm out. I don't need to stay here with you. You know what I mean? But I'm really well today. I'm really healed in a lot of ways and making tremendous progress spiritually. So I sit in power with people, and I don't give them power over me, and I don't do anything to try to exercise power over them. So taking that power away by not being as reactive and impulsive and emotional. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with being emotional, but we display the range and gamut of emotion, right? So if something makes me feel sad, then I will express that it makes me feel sad instead of just default to anger. So what this does, I said all of that to say this, what this does for bad actors or people, let me say this, when I say bad actors, what I mean is I'm talking about people who, like the rest of us, have likely more good than bad in them. But over time, what happens is with some people, either something has happened that's not been dealt with, or something continues to happen that really damages these people. To what degree and whether or not this damage is repairable, who's to say? Like I said, I don't spend a lot of time in other people's heads. But what I think that I observe is people processing in real time, not even knowing it with other people and deflecting and, putting on us, the audience around them, their feelings, their frustration, sadness, anger, or whatever, and then making it our responsibility. And then, it's in an odd way a bit of a test to see how the world around them processes those things, and then maybe taking bits and pieces of that and applying it for themselves to see if, the very destructive, harmful, and challenging way of gaining support over, hey, I need help with this, I'm really struggling, right? What happens with these bad actors, now that you have a definition, I've touched on this before, but they will, and I say this a lot, these people with their behaviors will begin to publicly, because they cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves. It is impossible for them, mostly due to ego. The ego is the downfall. They will more publicly and more frequently commit type 2 errors. Now, what am I talking about? Simply put, throwing as much shit out there to get a reaction as possible, and so either refusing or without the ability to put a fine point or definition on any of it. So they really good at putting on their tap shoes and dancing around issues and throwing a bunch of shit out to distract people with second, third, fourth, even fifth contextually related arguments. You know what I mean? Just to keep things messy and, verbose and, undefined and vague and ambiguous, and everybody's stuck in this mire and just trying to unpack all this shit. That's going to happen more and more. People are going to begin to recognize it, because one of the things that will also come along with this folly is they'll start, mostly when there's not a lot of chaos, it's easier to pick your direction. It's easier to spot a lame doe in a field that's quiet in the morning, and they're not in like a fight or flight response, right? So you can see the weak, lame, or the sick ones, or the people who aren't going to put up a fight. This is what bullies do. So they're going to direct that energy accordingly. Well, when you have more visibility, less ability to pick weaker prey, you got to kind of guess. You're going to gamble, right? And in that, you're taking a risk that you're going to fuck around and find out. You're going to pick the right one, and you're going to try to throw shade on one, and it's not going to stick, because this motherfucker is solid as a rock. And what they say is what they mean, and what they do and how they live. You know what I'm saying? The FBI said this about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Martin Luther King still lauded as, and it's debatable with me, but is one of the premier civil rights activists. Like one of the golden children. I mean, his street's named after bro. Schools. You know what I'm saying? Bro got a day. Every time Black History Month come along, you know, he's the de facto black dude that people talk about. You still talk about him in school. And rarely the others. The FBI said this about the two. Malcolm X, ex-drug addict, convicted felon, self-proclaimed pimp, petty Annie, criminal, you know what I'm saying? Thief, liar, con man, philanderer. This is what the FBI said about the two, the differences. They said Malcolm X is like a saint. He's like the fucking Pope. The bro goes out into the world, does his thing, back to the house. What's he do? He's not on the phone. If he is, he's talking about what you know what I mean? He's living his demonstration. 100% from the bottom to the top. He's praying. He's fasting. He's abstaining from engaging in negative self-talk, negative talk about others, violence against others, crime, whatever. What's Martin Luther King doing? Bro got, I got hoes. I got hoes. Martin Luther King's out getting jiggy, bro. He's out there, you know what I mean? Doing his thing. Rolling Stone. In my mind, like, listen, man, do what you do. But in my mind, you have to live a life that defines, not betrays, what you say on these microphones and in front of these cameras. That's what I do. That's what Malcolm X does. Now, I'm not saying I'm Malcolm X, but I'm saying these bad actors, they will try a Malcolm X. They will try me. They will try people like that. And that kind of public mistake, repeated, is a death sentence. Now, there's no need really, in my mind, to, as hard as it might be, because listen, I'll admit it, like, I want to know why. Like, what is it about you? What makes you take, what is it that happened to you? All jokes aside, what is it that happened to you that makes you like this? Just out of sheer curiosity. But there's really no need. I mean, outside of like the must-haves, right? Like if a crime's been committed or someone's being actively victimized or, you know, stuff like that. But outside of that, there's no need to argue, know why, because these energies are too volatile. And trust me, all of the ships that are formed of this material will sink. They will self-destruct all on their own. All on their own. And the crazy part about it is all it takes is just visibility. All it takes is just to have people start watching what you do. That's it. See, one of the reasons why today I can be so mellow, I can be so reflective, I can observe the world around me and not let my brain or my anxiety take over. Not that it doesn't. I'm saying why I'm so good at that practice and behavior now. Tell me, I've been through hell. I have been through hell. I've put myself through hell. I've been put through hell. I've lived in literal hell. And I'm not talking about like brief stays. I'm talking about years. Years. When I say I've been through the fire, those who know. Because you've been through it too. I'm not just talking about addiction. I'm just talking about all of it. All of it. It's not just addiction. It's deeper than that. And I say that to say, if you haven't been there like that, like if you haven't been tested like that, if you've not been tested and come through on the other side the way that I have, the way that my brothers and sisters have, and exist in serenity and peace the way that we do today, come on, bro. You ain't hard enough. It's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take a lot more than that. I'm not saying that I'm not affected by, the crappy things that people do, because I certainly am. I have feelings too, but I'm telling you, man, the stuff, the petty stuff that I see, that I observe people doing to each other, and then once in a while try to do with me, come on, man. It's coffee table drama. It's coffee table drama. You're not gonna trick me out of my spot over and over. Come on, you gotta do better. Not in that sense, but you gotta do better for yourself. There's so much more in life than control. Trust me. And this is the crazy thing. The world, for people like me, will try to pin this narrative of like power and control, like control on people like me. Come on, bro. Look, people who want, let me just point this out. If you want to see the people who want the most control, look for the person who is everywhere. That's what I'm going to say. You want to look for the people who want the most control? Look for the people who are everywhere. Every time you look up, there they go. Because that's not me. That is not me. There's something like this is a remnant, a throwback from my childhood. Like, I mean, I do these podcasts, but I do this for an entirely different reason. I've said it before, but I do it again. I'll say it again. The reason why I'm in services, the reason why I do this podcast, the reason why I share my experience, strength, and hope is because it is important to me. God has put on my heart to keep visible a realistic and practical version of recovery and life after all of that shit. After the childhood, after abuse, after sexual abuse, after drugs, after prisons, after jails, after all of it. Someone has to keep a light on for people like me, so that's why I do it. Anyway, if you didn't do it on the way in, think about doing it on the way out. Hit that like, subscribe, and post notification bell so you can stay up to date on all the cool, badass tomfoolery, fun shit we talk about here on the Bees Like That podcast. Peace, y'all.